Masego Karanja sped through the busy streets of Nairobi in his sleek black car, the city lights reflecting off the polished metal. He was a man who had everything money could buy: luxury cars, tall buildings, and a life of endless comfort. But he never noticed the faces around him. People hurried past, struggling with their daily lives, but Masego's eyes always focused straight ahead, untouched by the world outside his bubble. His days were full of meetings, contracts, and endless calls, leaving little room for anything that wasn't about business. He was admired by many for his success, yet no one truly knew the man behind the suit. Far away, Ifeanyi Okoro moved through the crowded market with a heavy basket on her back. Sweat dripped down her forehead as she tried to balance her work with the worry for her son, Chisomo, who lay sick at home. Every coin mattered. Every hour she worked could make the difference between life and death for her child. She had no family to rely on, and no one to turn to. Her hands were rough from labor, her eyes tired, but she carried a quiet strength that kept her moving forward, hoping each day would bring a solution. One evening, as rain poured down, she dashed through the slippery streets, clutching a small note in her hand. In a hurry, the paper slipped and fell onto Masego's car unnoticed. He opened the door later that night, and found the crumpled note lying on his seat. It was simple, yet desperate, a plea for help for a sick child with no money for treatment. Reading it, something inside Masego stirred, a feeling he had never experienced before. His heart raced, and he felt a connection to a stranger's pain. Determined to find the woman who had written it, he visited the market the next day. People described her as the mother carrying baskets, moving with exhaustion but never complaining. Masego finally saw her for himself, noticing the fatigue in her eyes, the strength in her steps, and the unspoken sacrifices she made for her child. He offered help without hesitation, arranging medical care for Chisomo and a small home for them. At first, Ifeanyi hesitated, unsure of why a billionaire would care, but Masego's genuine kindness won her over. Slowly, trust grew and a new life began. Chisomo regained his health, and Ifeanyi started a small business with guidance and support. Nairobi buzzed with the story of a powerful man whose heart had been touched by a simple note, a reminder that even the smallest plea can change the lives of many. Ifeanyi Okoro woke up before sunrise every day, carrying heavy baskets of vegetables and fruits to sell in the crowded Nairobi market. Her hands were calloused, her back ached, but she never complained. Every coin she earned went toward Chisomo's medicine and doctor visits. Her son lay at home, weak and coughing, and she could not afford to waste a single day. Neighbors whispered about her struggles, but she kept moving forward with quiet determination, refusing to let despair take over. Even when rain poured or the sun burned hot, she worked tirelessly, hoping someone, somehow, would notice her need. One evening, exhausted and drenched from the sudden storm, Ifeanyi hurried to make it home. Clutched in her hand was a small, shaky note begging for help for Chisomo's treatment. She had no money, no family, no safety net, only hope that someone kind might read her words. As she dashed through the crowded streets, the paper slipped from her grasp and fluttered onto a nearby car, disappearing into the night before she could even reach it. She did not realize that her small plea had landed in the hands of one of the wealthiest men in the city. Masego Karanja, the tech billionaire, opened his car door and saw the note crumpled on the seat. Reading the desperate words, his chest tightened in a way he had never felt before. Life of luxury, endless business deals, and grand parties had never made him feel this. The raw honesty of a mother's love, her fear for her child, struck him deeply. For the first time, Masego paused his busy life and thought about someone else's pain. Determined to help, he traced her through the market the next day, asking questions about the mother with the sick child. He watched her carry her baskets, moving with strength despite exhaustion, always putting Chisomo first. He saw how much she sacrificed every day, how she smiled through pain and worry, and something inside him shifted. Without hesitation, he offered to cover Chisomo's medical bills and secure a small home for them. At first, Ifeanyi hesitated, unsure of why someone so rich would care. Slowly, she realized his help was genuine. Chisomo's health improved, and Ifeanyi gained the chance to start a small business with Masego's guidance. Word spread through Nairobi about the billionaire whose heart was changed by a single note, a story of hope, courage, and unexpected kindness that touched the lives of many. One rainy evening, Ifeinwa accidentally drops her handwritten note into Masego's unlocked car, thinking no one will ever read it. She had spent hours writing her plea, explaining how her son, Chisomo, was very sick and needed urgent medical care she could not afford. The small paper carried her hopes and fears, her desperation spilling onto every line. As she hurried through the wet streets, clutching her soaked basket, the note slipped from her fingers and landed on the passenger seat of a sleek black car, unnoticed in the rush of traffic and pounding rain. Masego Karanja, stuck in the slow-moving cars nearby, opened his door later that night after returning from a long day of meetings. The note lay crumpled on the seat, wet but still readable. Curiosity made him unfold it, and as he read the words, something unusual happened. For the first time in his life, the busy billionaire felt a tug at his heart. He had seen countless emails, proposals, and complaints from people seeking his help, but none had touched him like this. The raw honesty, the fear, and the love for a child he had never met filled him with an unfamiliar sense of responsibility and compassion. The next morning, Masego could not stop thinking about the note. He drove to the area near the market, asking quietly about a mother who had been seen carrying baskets and struggling through the crowd. People described her as hardworking and kind, but no one knew her name or where she lived. Determined, he observed the market, watching every woman move under the rain, carrying their goods, smiling despite exhaustion. Finally he spotted her, Ifeinwa, bending under the weight of her baskets, wiping rain from her tired face, and speaking softly to vendors with a polite smile. He saw the sacrifices she made, how she pushed through pain and hardship just to care for her child. Without hesitation, he approached her, offering support for Chisomo's treatment, and helping her secure a safe home. At first, Ifeinwa was cautious, unsure why a stranger, a wealthy man, would be so generous. Gradually, she realized Masego's intentions were sincere. Chisomo's health improved quickly, and Ifeinwa began a small business with Masego's guidance. The city soon buzzed about the story of the billionaire whose life changed because of one simple note, proving that sometimes, hope finds its way in the most unexpected ways. The note reads, "Please sir, help my son. I have no one left. I cannot afford the treatment. God bless you." Masego Karanja stared at the small piece of paper in his hand, his eyes tracing the shaky letters. Each word carried a weight that no business report or contract ever could. The desperation, the fear, and the love behind the message hit him like a sudden jolt. He had always been a man of logic, measuring life in numbers and deals, but this was different. This was raw, human emotion reaching out for help, and he could not ignore it. He remembered the countless times he had walked past people in the streets without a thought, wrapped in his world of luxury and deadlines. But now, the words of a stranger, a mother pleading for her child, made the bustling city fade away. He imagined the little boy, Chisomo, lying weak in a small, crowded home, his mother desperate to save him. Masego felt an unfamiliar pull in his chest, a mix of sorrow and urgency. He knew he had the means to change a life instantly, but it was the sincerity in those few lines that moved him the most. The next day, Masego could not stop thinking about the note. He left his towering office and drove through the streets near the market, asking quietly about a mother with a sick child. Vendors pointed him to a woman they had seen tirelessly carrying heavy baskets, always polite, always tired but never complaining. Finally he spotted her, Ifeinwa, worn out from work, sweat and rain mixing on her face, moving with a strength that belied her exhaustion. She was real, and so was the struggle she had poured into the note. Masego approached her carefully, offering to cover Chisomo's medical bills, and to help her find a small home where they could live safely. At first, Ifeinwa hesitated, unsure if the billionaire's generosity was genuine. Slowly, as she saw his consistent support, she realized he truly cared. Chisomo received proper treatment, regaining strength day by day, and Ifeinwa was able to start a small business with Masego's guidance. The city soon buzzed with the story of a man who had been touched by a single note, proving that sometimes a few heartfelt words can change lives forever, bridging worlds of wealth and struggle with compassion and hope. Masego opens the note while stuck in traffic. His heart races. He's never been touched like this by a stranger's plea. The cars honked around him, but the sounds faded as he read the words again and again. "Please sir, help my son. I have no one left. I cannot afford the treatment. God bless you." The simplicity of the note, the raw honesty, made him feel something he had never felt before, genuine empathy. All the wealth, the power, and the endless deals in his life had never mattered like this small cry for help. For the first time, Masigo looked beyond his world of luxury. He imagined the child, Chisomo, lying weak and sick, waiting for someone to save him. He thought of Ifeinwa, the mother pouring every ounce of strength into caring for her son, struggling through exhaustion and worry. He felt a tightness in his chest, a mix of sorrow and responsibility, as if the note had called him to act immediately. The words seemed to echo in his mind, refusing to let him focus on anything else. Unable to ignore the feeling, Masigo decided to find her. The next day, he drove to the market district, asking quietly about a mother with a sick child. Vendors pointed him in the right direction, mentioning a woman they had seen carrying heavy baskets, always polite, always tired but persistent. He watched the crowd carefully, scanning for her, until he finally spotted her, Ifeinwa, moving with quiet determination, her face marked by exhaustion but her steps steady. She carried the weight of the world on her shoulders, yet she never stopped, never complained. Masego approached slowly, offering help for Chisomo's treatment and a safer home for them. At first, Ifeinwa hesitated, unsure of why someone so wealthy would care so much. But as she saw his sincerity and consistent support, trust grew between them. Chisomo's health improved quickly, and Ifeinwa gained the chance to start a small business, guided by Masego's advice and support. News of the story spread quickly throughout the city. Everyone talked about the billionaire whose heart had been changed by a simple note. It became a story of hope, courage, and unexpected kindness, showing that even a few heartfelt words can reach the most unlikely hearts and transform lives forever. Determined to find the writer, Masigo retraces her steps in the market, asking questions, but everyone only knows her as the mother with a sick child. He moved slowly through the crowded stalls, watching women bargain for vegetables, men shouting prices, and children running between carts. He showed the note to shopkeepers, hoping someone would recognize the handwriting, the desperate plea for help. Vendors shook their heads, pointing him toward different paths, each describing a woman who worked tirelessly, carrying heavy baskets, always polite, always smiling despite exhaustion. Masego's eyes scanned the crowd, noticing every detail. He saw women bending under the weight of their goods, their feet aching, their hands worn from years of labor. He imagined how many nights they went to bed hungry so their children could eat, how many hours were spent walking through crowded streets with no time to rest. His mind kept returning to the note, to the fear and hope in those simple words. The mother he sought was out there somewhere, hidden among the thousands of faces, yet her courage and love for her child made her stand apart even without knowing it. Finally, he spotted her. Ifeinwa Okoro moved gracefully despite exhaustion, balancing baskets on her head, speaking softly to the vendors, and helping younger women carry their goods when she could. There was a calm strength about her that drew Masego's attention immediately. He watched her pause for a moment to catch her breath, wiping the sweat from her face, yet her eyes stayed bright with determination. He realized that this was the woman from the note, the one who had trusted fate enough to write her plea to a stranger. He approached her carefully, not wanting to startle her. When she turned, he saw the weariness in her face, the worry for her son shining in her eyes. He introduced himself and explained he had read her note. At first, she looked unsure, her pride and fear making her hesitate to accept help. But Masego's calm tone and genuine concern slowly broke down her walls. He promised to assist her, to make sure Chisomo got the care he needed, and to help her live without constant struggle. As she realized his sincerity, relief washed over her, tears forming in her eyes. The bustling market seemed to fade around them, leaving only two people connected by hope and compassion. From that moment, their lives began to change. Chisomo's health improved, and Ifeinwa gained strength and confidence, knowing someone cared deeply about her family. The city soon talked about the mother who inspired a billionaire, proving that courage and honesty can touch even the busiest hearts in the world. He sees Ifeinwa working tirelessly, carrying heavy baskets, exhausted, barely keeping a smile. Masigo realizes the enormity of her sacrifice. Every step she takes is careful, yet determined, balancing goods on her head while scanning the busy market for customers. Her hands are rough, her clothes damp with sweat, but she moves as if nothing could stop her. Observing her, he notices how she greets vendors politely, answers questions patiently, and yet never complains about the weight she carries or the long hours she endures. The strength and dedication in her movements speak louder than words, showing a mother's love stronger than any obstacle. Masego watches as she pauses briefly to wipe her brow, then straightens immediately, hiding the exhaustion behind a soft smile. He imagines the nights she spends awake, worrying about Chisomo, the money she borrows and struggles to earn, the meals she skips so her child can eat. Each act of her daily routine reveals a life full of sacrifices no one else seems to notice. He starts to understand the depth of her courage, the quiet heroism in the choices she makes every single day. She is not asking for attention, not looking for praise. Her only goal is to keep her son alive and safe. As he follows her through the crowded aisles, Masego sees her bend to help another struggling vendor, offer a kind word to a tired child, and still maintain her own work. Her dedication is relentless, almost invisible to the busy world around her. He feels a mix of admiration and guilt, realizing how disconnected he has been from the struggles of ordinary people. This is not just a mother fighting to survive. This is someone whose love pushes her beyond limits, someone whose courage can move hearts if only given a chance. Finally, Masego approaches her carefully, wanting to offer help without overwhelming her. Ifeinwa looks up, surprised, her eyes reflecting both caution and curiosity. He explains that he read her note and wants to assist her and Chisomo. At first, she hesitates, unsure of why a powerful man would care about her life. Slowly, as she sees his sincerity and determination, a sense of hope begins to replace fear. Masego promises support for her son's treatment and guidance to help her improve their lives. Observing her again, he notices the tiniest hint of relief on her face, a flicker of belief that life might finally change. That moment marks the beginning of a story that will touch the city, of a mother's relentless strength meeting the unexpected kindness of someone who finally sees her sacrifices. Masego offers immediate help, covers Chisomo's medical bills, arranges a proper home for them, and ensures Ifeinwa no longer struggles daily. He takes her to a nearby hospital, speaking with doctors and arranging every treatment Chisomo needs. For the first time, Ifeinwa feels a weight lift from her shoulders, realizing her child will receive proper care without her worrying about money or missing a single dose of medicine. She watches Masego organize everything calmly and efficiently, amazed at how quickly her desperate plea has turned into real action. Next, he finds a small, safe house for them, a place where Chisomo can rest and recover comfortably. The home is simple but clean, with enough space for them to live without fear of the cramped conditions they faced before. Masego ensures all necessities are in place, beds, kitchen supplies, and even some toys to lift Chisomo's spirits. He explains that he wants them to feel secure, to focus on healing and living without constant stress. Ifeinwa can hardly believe such care exists, and she feels tears welling in her eyes, a mixture of relief, gratitude, and hope she had not known in years. Every day, Masego checks in on them, not to intrude but to make sure they have what they need. He guides Ifeinwa gently, teaching her how to manage small tasks in her new home, and encouraging her to think about the future beyond survival. Slowly, she begins to regain confidence, realizing that her hard work, determination, and honesty brought someone into their lives who truly wanted to help. She begins to smile more freely, and Chisomo starts gaining strength, his laughter echoing through the small home. The change is not just in material support, it is in the freedom they now have. Ifeinwa can walk through the market without worry, knowing her son is safe and cared for. She starts planning small ways to earn a steady income, inspired by Masego's guidance. Life that once seemed filled with struggle and fear now feels filled with possibilities. Word spreads in Nairobi about the billionaire who helped a mother and her child, creating a story that captures hearts. Masego's act of kindness transforms more than their lives. It becomes a lesson in compassion, showing that a single act can create hope, restore faith, and change the course of someone's life forever. At first, Ifeinwa hesitates, proud and wary of charity. She had spent her life relying on herself, believing that accepting help would make her weak or indebted. The idea of a wealthy man stepping into her life, offering aid for her son, made her nervous. She wondered why he cared, whether it was a trick or some hidden expectation. Her hands shook slightly as she listened to him explain what he wanted to do, and she tried to hide her fear behind a polite smile. But as days passed, she began to notice Masego's actions matched his words. He came quietly, checking on Chisomo's treatment, arranging what was needed for the house, and never asking anything in return. He did not treat her like someone inferior or beg for her gratitude. Instead, he treated her with respect and patience. Slowly, Ifeanyi's walls started to crumble. She realized that his help was genuine, that his interest was truly in her son's well-being and in easing her burdens. The constant worry she had carried for years began to lift, replaced by a cautious sense of hope. As trust grew, Ifeanyi felt a weight she hadn't realized she carried begin to fade. She watched Chisomo regain strength, laughing and playing in the safety of their new home. She saw that accepting help did not make her weak. It allowed her to focus on being a mother and planning for a better future. Masego guided her gently, encouraging her to think about opportunities she had never imagined, teaching her small steps to build a more secure life for herself and her son. Her initial fear turned into gratitude, not just for the financial support, but for the respect, understanding, and patience Masego showed. She began to smile more, laugh more, and speak openly about her dreams and ideas for a small business she had always wanted to start. For the first time, she realized she could accept help without losing her dignity or independence. The transformation was visible to everyone around them. Chisomo thrived, Ifeanyi's confidence grew, and even the bustling city of Nairobi seemed to notice the quiet story of trust and kindness. Masego's consistency and genuine concern had changed their lives, proving that compassion, patience, and respect can break barriers, heal fears, and create hope where there once was only struggle. The city buzzed with the tale of a mother learning to trust again, and a billionaire showing that even the simplest acts of care can leave the deepest mark. Chisomo recovers fully. His cheeks grow rosy, his laughter fills the small home, and every cough disappears, leaving only the sound of playful footsteps and joyful chatter. Ifeanyi watches him with a heart full of relief, realizing the long nights of worry and exhaustion are finally over. For the first time in months, she feels peace, knowing her son is strong, healthy, and safe. She thanks Masego quietly, still amazed that a stranger's kindness could turn their lives around so completely. With Chisomo well again, Ifeanyi finds new energy to focus on her own dreams. Masego encourages her to start a small business, guiding her through every step. He helps her find suppliers, teaches her how to manage money, and shows her ways to attract customers. Slowly, she sets up a tiny stall selling fruits, vegetables, and homemade goods. The first days are challenging, but she remembers all the effort she put into caring for Chisomo and realizes she can face these challenges too. Each customer she serves brings her more confidence, and she begins to feel proud of her independence. The news of their story spreads quickly through Nairobi. People talk about the billionaire who stopped everything to help a mother and her child, a man whose life changed after reading a simple note. Social media buzzes with the tale, and the market vendors smile as they watch Ifeanyi work, knowing the strength and courage it took for her to reach this point. Everyone marvels at how one small act of honesty and hope can create a ripple that touches so many lives. Masego continues to check in, not to control, but to support. He celebrates Chisomo's health milestones and applauds Ifeanyi's growing business. Over time, a bond forms, built on trust, respect, and shared humanity. Ifeanyi realizes that accepting help does not diminish her strength, it amplifies it. She learns to dream bigger, plan further, and live with hope rather than constant fear. Their story becomes a symbol of courage, perseverance, and the unexpected ways compassion can change lives. A mother's love, a child's need, and a stranger's kindness come together to create something extraordinary. The city remembers not just the wealth of Masego, but the heart that could be moved by a simple note, and the determination of Ifeanyi, whose courage transformed her life and inspired thousands around her. Hope, kindness, and determination prove stronger than struggle alone. Thanks for watching my video. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel for more amazing stories. Your support means a lot.